some of you have questions, because I think I kind of covered everything. Yes?
I was wondering, you know, that wonderful booklet you put together with the history and what's in here, is that available?
We just printed 6 copies.
I
And I actually, I think, they did a really beautiful PDF version online in Kansas that I'm happy to share with anyone. You can print it out. It prints out beautifully. It has pictures, and it's really. And that book was written by my dear friend Tim Drescher, who was a long-time USF professor of many different things, but art and literature. And so he retired, and like me, he needed stuff to do, so he wrote the pamphlet. I really appreciate him doing it. Yes?
What was the medium you used for your painting?
What this is scratchboard, and it's actually it's a eucalyptus panel. So it's a green wood product. It has kaolin clay, glue, and a little titanium dioxide to make the white. And then the black is a matte sumi ink. Most inks have lacquer in it, but these have no lacquers, which keep them duller. So that's what they are. And I actually buy these boards. Even some of them here, I actually made some of the boards here. You can see they're a little different. But that's basically, so you scratch through the black to expose the drawing. So it's a reverse kind of drawing, which I'm addicted to. I love doing it. So that's how they're made. So there's 217 panels. So, yes.
Were there any panels that you had to do over again more than once?
You know, that's the thing, it's pretty forgiving.
Oh, sometimes people ask to repeat the question because they don't always hear the question.
I should repeat the question?
Yes,
Yes, I do remake parts of it. I get it wrong all the time. I used to joke, I use more erasers than I do pencils. And I think that you can re-ink the board and then scratch it again, which hopefully I hide it enough, but some of the places you can see where I didn't do it. I mean, where you can see I corrected it. Yes?
I have 2 questions. Does your artwork help your own grief about what's happening to the living earth? Is it part of what heals you personally? And are you apprenticing anybody so that your process will live?
Yes, it helps with the grief somewhat. But it's still, I mean, I think my life it's bittersweet. I mean, I can't, almost everything, you know, right now I think about fire every day. You know, so I can't help it. There's a sadness that hangs with the really wonderful parts too, the beauty and the other things. So I think sometimes the duality of those things, I have to just let them sit together. And sometimes it is painful. I hear something, you know, Trump lifted the floating, gillnet ban. Or, the other day I came across an osprey that had been electrocuted by a fence, by a line, an overhead power line. So, again, those things are painful. But I think, we need to do something. I mean, I think we're running out of time. And I think, things this is going to be hard turning the ship around. It's going to take some to do it. It's going to take a while. So, but I think we have to do it. And again, I mean, What was the other question?
Are you apprenticing anyone?
Oh, well, you know, I've had lots and lots of interns and apprentices. And actually, this wall went up with the help of 2 young, wonderful apprentice interns. And again, you know, the experience of working with them is really uplifting for me. And to talk to them and hear their ideas and stuff. So, and I have had many. The print shop, I had constantly had interns, and many of the people who worked there, they all started out as volunteers and learning the trade from me. So it is something I would do. I don't have someone in my studio all the time. I actually, before COVID, I had an intern but I haven't come back. But yes, I would consider an intern. Yes?
Is this piece touring the world, and then where's it gonna live for a while after?
Well, if you have any suggestions. It travels really easy. It fits into one crate. It's, you know, I was not excited about having to build a wall for this. But I knew that I only had so many opportunities, I'm only going to get so many opportunities to show it, so I was happy to do it, and I would be happy to do it again. Because I think it is worth getting out there. There's some things in the works, hopefully it can be used as an education tool, and go from there. But if anyone has any suggestions, you have a big wall.
I do have one suggestion. If you display it again somewhere, if you would put a catwalk about midway up, because the top is gorgeous, and you can't really see it from the floor looking up. It's very difficult to see all the detail and all the imagery and stuff. So
Right.
I mean, standing up here is wonderful, and I can see a lot more of it, but if I'm so far away, then I can't really see the detail again. But I think a catwalk to allow a view up would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think, you know, the other thing I was thinking was that maybe I could, because I invented the clips, put it up and stuff, I was thinking maybe I could make like a periscope. You have to have study.
Oh, yeah. Jos, it might be a telescope, really. I was thinking a telescope you could put in.
Well, it's something I'll consider, but there was also a part where, because of the size, I wanted it, just like many things in nature, you don't get a perfect view of it. You get the view you get. And so you get up close to it and you try to see it, and you just see what you can see. And so, but...
Is this PDF that's available online, I guess?
Well, I'm going to make it online. I had them giving people who wanted it, to give them my email address, and I just sent them, and I sent them the PDF, so we
We will
can...
put it on our website. We will
Oh, you
put
can
it on our
download it,
website.
yeah.
So can you zoom in, like?
You can. Well, that file isn't there yet, but that's something we're hopefully working on, and that it will actually exist. Because I think there is some talk with the Melville Society about using this as an education tool. So hopefully it will happen. You know, everything. So.
Jos, can we mention that that print is for sale, and that the print there is for sale, and that it supports the center and Jos as well? So,
Yeah, again, it was, to put this wall up was, you know, $1,300, which is, you know, was not what the center planned on. Yes?
What is the dinosaur skull and the iceberg up there?
What was, which, oh, this, what was that again, Willie?
Dinosaur skull?
a dinosaur.
That's actually, that's a polar bear skull. No. And I think, I was guessing that was about the right size for it.
Is there something specific going on in the whale fin there?
This actually, if you look closely, It's a dead sea turtle, the skeleton, which actually I saw. So,
Kind of looks sort of like a wound.
yeah, again, because it had to be so white, I wanted to put a different kind of image in there. So, and again, there's all these, I don't know, again, if you read Moby Dick, there's a whole chapter on whiteness and the spirituality of it. It's one of his weirder, cooler chapters.
I have a question of two of the images.
Huh?
I have a question of two of the images.
Yeah.
So from here, it looks like there's two bulldozers, but it also looks like the M for McDonald's. Kind of
Oh, this one here?
Yes.
That was a McDonald's sign. I saw it online. It had been destroyed in a hurricane.
Okay.
So I thought it was kind of a good transition from food workers into the, and again with the, toxic spraying.
And the second image I had a question about, there's a car upside down. Right?
Yeah, this one.
Uh-huh.
That was again, I think it was, that was like tornado damage, and it was just the car was flipped. So again, it was just kind of connecting the other, I mean, I think it's a toss-up whether there's more cars or plastic bottles in the street.
I think that as meaningful as the images that are in it, I'm very moved by the size and the perspective and the fact that anybody who sees this as a wall finally understands how big a whale is.
Right.
I think that's a very important message.
Well, there's a story about the size of this. When I was getting to do it, and I was probably less than halfway done, I said to my wife, I said, this is going to be really expensive to do this. Maybe I should just do it like half size. And she said, don't waste your time. Don't do it. And she said, if you want, I'll pay for the boards. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm curious about the cartoon cat over Moscone's head. It looks like a cartoon. It's a Black Cougar.
That's a Black Panther logo.
Oh, black. Oh, okay.
And this guy was a Black Panther. This is John Lewis. And accidentally, just happened to be in there.
This cruise ship is that?
Oh, that's what it's, I think it's Larry Ellison's. Octopi or something? Stainless steel boat. Yes.
This looks very fragile. How do you protect this scratchboard?
It's not as fragile as it looks. So it is, from putting it up now 4 times, it is developing kind of a dinged patina. I'm gonna, probably when it comes down this time, I'm gonna actually barricade all the boards, which is what Ampersand recommends I do to protect them. So I haven't done it yet. Because still things like, every time I see this, I say, I really got to scratch these and make these alligator teeth brighter, so that they pick up the teeth of these women behind. Again, another juxtaposition.
Where has it traveled and where will it be going?
Well, right now, it's not going to go, there's no plan for it to go anyplace else. They're in discussion about trying to go, it's not easy. A lot of museums and stuff are just coming out of COVID. A lot of things were canceled. So, again, hopefully it will travel. I really don't want it to live in my studio in a box. So I'd rather just put it up anywhere than and not have it up. So that's, so I don't know, but I'm talking, we just talk about it. But, yes.
So, as I listen to your explanation, I'm amazed about all the historical references. And I'm thinking, hopefully this is going to last for a long time, so future generations are going to see it. But they have no familiarity as we do with the images or the historical references. So what could be done to educate the viewer also about history?
Well, I think in some ways, I make narrative art, and I'm trying to tell a story. But I don't think you have to understand every single thing in it. But I did make an attempt to keep the stylizations down, clothing and other things. And this is 3 years old now, and it hasn't aged. It's done okay. And I look again, like I said, I think we were talking earlier, and I was looking at Diego Rivera's Pan American mural, which I was lucky enough to go and see it at SF Loma. And I always hated going to see it, crammed into that little theater at City College, and it was amazing to be able to get back from it. But the other thing that really amazed me was I don't understand all the imagery in that mural, but it's not dated. He's talking about the environment, he's talking about, that's really the first mention where he starts talking about disinformation and film, and all these other new things and so that old movie camera is dated, but it still represents, the disinformation and the power of film, and, that Rivera knew was coming. And so, anyway, so I don't know. I think, because again, people, if you really are interested in something, you can find out what they are. And if it would, if I tell them that, that's Steve Jobs, that's Leland Stanford, I think hardly anybody knows what Leland Stanford looks like. But once they do know, then it starts to connect with all the other parts. And I think it's okay for you to discover that stuff yourself. And then everything, I don't want to just lay everything out completely. I would like you to make some, draw your own conclusions. Yes?
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was struck by, it reminded me of the Diego Rivera murals in the Detroit Institute of Arts, and in a very favorable way. And I wondered whether you're familiar with those, and whether you feel some heritage or legacy or kindredness. Thank you.
Well, obviously, I do. I'm really familiar with his work. I've seen those murals in Detroit. In fact, I saw them again just a couple of years ago, and they still blow me away.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's really funny. When I was in art school, Diego Rivera was taboo. He was garbage. Social realism was junk. And even at the Art Institute, which people don't know, they sheetrocked over Diego Rivera's mural when Clifford Still held sway there. And people, they can't imagine that now. And you look at a Clifford Still painting and you say, yeah. And I think, so again, things change. But I'm deeply influenced by Diego Rivera. And I think the way he organizes image and the way he does visual narrative, I really love. And again, he paints murals that illiterate people can read. And I think I would like to do the same thing.
Well, I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you from being taught that he was dog shit to getting into your own head about it when you were coming up?
That's a because I was paid abstract expressionism when I left art school. So it took me a while, and I actually think it was the political education where all of a sudden I said, you know, this stuff doesn't resonate with anybody. And so the images that I wanted to make were, you know, direct images about people and their experiences, and those have a tendency to be political. And then I really dived into the political poster movement in the mission. And so we made posters about all kinds of issues. And it was really an international center. We dealt with so many things. And it was wonderful experiences as young artists to have that.
What year was that?
Those were in the late 70s, ultimately.
Should we do one more question?
Sure.
You said that you were going to tell us a little bit about how you treated the tiger.
Oh, well, the Whale is the subtitle of Moby Dick. So,
There's one young girl there who wants to ask. What?
yes.
Would you ever think about putting color in it?
I have to know this name. It's he knows that I've been coloring scratchboard. So my new work, I've actually been adding color. So,
I think that it's very important to know that you're a political activist. You know, how can you be a political art activist? The best way is to show images and to show people and to make them think about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's
and it's not, I mean, I think in some ways you know, the idea of, you know, a lot of the stuff I make is not suitable. They're not going to sell it in a gallery.
right.
And so it's, you know, not all of it, but a bunch of it. And so, and that's, again, I'm retired. You know, it was a union shop I ran, I have a pension, so I don't have to worry anymore. I'm really privileged and lucky, so I don't have to worry about selling my art, which is a great place to be. And I know that it's a privileged place. Yes?
Have you ever done anything else on a grand scale like this, or do you have plans to do more?
I actually have done, probably worked on at least a half dozen murals that were at least this big. So.
Where are they?
Well, they were up, I don't know if you remember the entrances in the Oakland Coliseum, I painted all of them. They were up for 20 years. They took them down, I think they're at the Oakland Museum now.
Wow.
There's other ones. I worked for years with Danielle Galvez, who's a really well-known artist. And we painted, you know, it was his commission, but I worked with him closely. We painted a big mural at the Audubon Ballroom where Malcolm X was assassinated. Let's see what other ones have I done. I've done a whole series of tile murals. I did one in Jos Sances in Mexico. I did one in the Haitian refugee camp in West Bank. And I did one with students at Berkeley High School. It was an interesting one. It was about 4 years ago. They had a racial incident there. And the students walked out for 2 days. And so it just happened to be that I started this workshop with them like 2 days after they came back. So the only thing they wanted to do was stuff about that. So we made it, I think, a really beautiful mural. It was Black Lives Matter. So, really was. So that mural was the first artwork that had been, public art that had been put up at Berkeley High since the 30s.
Wow.
So originally it was just going to go in the art department, and then as it developed, it went from a 2-week thing to a 3-month thing with these kids. And then it basically, they put it in the courtyard, which was, really great. So I've been doing a fair amount of things. Yes?
So what I love about this whale is its grace, even though pictorially it's fantastic. It's a beyond fantastic. But, you know, there is this power. I've seen a whale, unfortunately, caged and dying, and it was really painful. And I've also been in Point Richmond while they were doing the whalings when I was a child. It was very, very powerful, touching, horrifying. But this huge image, and then there's these delicate fins at the end, how you kind of laid them almost just beautifully so, that really when you imagine a whale in the water, it's just unbelievably, there's a grace to it, it's unbelievable. And you captured it somehow. And you stand back from the images and hold this vision, this warm, loving vision that you carry for these whales. It's there. It's really powerful. Thank you.
That are not attached to our walls that we need for our pictures. If we can build some other walls, then we would like to keep it.